Hello, Lightworker family. This video is about spiritual awakenings. If you're in the midst of a spiritual awakening, or perhaps you're curious to know if you're in the midst of a spiritual awakening, this video is for you. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm Kaylee Bohm. I'm a psychic reader for Lightworkers all over the world. I've been in practice since 2015. I'm new here to YouTube and sharing my expertise on this platform. So thank you so much for subscribing and welcome to the Lightworker family. All right, so 3 things that I want to share today. 1 is, what is a spiritual awakening and what is the purpose? 2 is, how do we manifest a spiritual awakening? And 3, how it can look differently for different lightworkers, or it can actually show up differently at different times of your own life for you. Okay, so first thing, spiritual awakening, what is it? One could assume by the term spiritual awakening that it's going to be a spiritual experience, but it's really a spiritual energy that draws near to us, cultivates an imprint in our lives so that we can transform energetically and physically. So it's an attunement of sorts. It's raising our vibration, but it's a very earthly experience in the sense that this high frequency spiritual awakening recalibrates and restructures our entire physical and emotional lives. Okay, so this is what a spiritual awakening is, and the purpose is to just that, transform our lives for the better, to uplift, to ascend, to raise our consciousness, and to live in accordance to spiritual truth, to high truth, to light. So that is what a spiritual awakening is, and that is the purpose. I want to add an additional purpose. For lightworkers specifically, we have a secondary purpose in spiritual awakenings. We tend to manifest spiritual awakenings as a collective, as lightworkers. We're in the midst of one right now, 2024 through 2027. We are in the midst of a collective lightworker spiritual awakening for the purpose of then supporting and serving humanity in navigating that, the imprint of this light that we're bringing in. So we're channeling in this light, we're ascending, we're awakening, and then at a later date or throughout this time frame, we will be assisting in the spiritual awakening for the collective. So it's both personal and linked to our dharma as light workers, the purpose of a spiritual awakening. So it's going to affect your life and for the better in the long run, and then it's also going to allow for you to then serve humanity in holding space as others navigate their spiritual awakenings. Okay, so we've covered what is a spiritual awakening and what is the purpose. Next component that I would like to share is what draws a spiritual awakening to us. So there's really 2 ways. 1, we seek it out through spiritual devotion, ritual, ceremony, meditation. We're wanting to increase our spiritual consciousness. We're choosing to raise our vibration, and so we can seek it out, and it's always available to us to ascend higher and to draw nearer to spiritual truth, which is wonderful. The second way that we manifest this is through the shifting of consciousness and the shifting of the cosmos, the shifting of time. And this is when our spiritual teams and the universe brings a wave of energy, and it's almost as if our external environment brings it to us. So we live in a universe of duality where we can express, seek, search, and then we can also receive. And so the Lightworker spiritual awakening that we are experiencing right now is one that we are receiving. It's happening to us. And so that can feel like a lot sometimes, because when you're not seeking it out, sometimes you may not feel ready, or it feels like you're out of control, and it's happening to you. But rest assured that it's all happening in our highest good, your highest good as an individual, as well as our highest good as a collective of lightworkers, and then of course the highest good for humanity, because we are here to serve humanity. Okay, and then lastly, how does a spiritual awakening feel for different people? It can feel differently for different types of light workers, as well as it can show up differently at different times of your life. So I love this topic because oftentimes when we hear the term spiritual awakening, you'll also hear terms like ascension or kundalini rising. And it brings this visual of us ascending and rising through levels of consciousness, as if there is like a hierarchy of like lower consciousness, higher consciousness. And I understand the concept that, when we evolve and we enlighten, of course there's depths and heights of consciousness that we can attune to. But when we talk about kundalini rising, for instance, it's this energy that begins at the base of our chakra system, our root chakra, and goes up. And so oftentimes we will associate a spiritual awakening with ascending from these primal parts of self, these physical parts of self, into this spiritual, awakened, enlightened part of self as we ascend to the higher chakras. Well, two things. Every energy center that you have in your body, your chakra system included, is inherently spiritual, energetic, and physical. So there's really no hierarchy when it comes to your chakra system or to the different levels of consciousness. There's just the opportunity to increase consciousness and health within each aspect of self. So we don't need to demonize the physical self or the mind or the ego. We just simply need to know how it works and how it can work in its highest accord of health. Okay, so as we ascend through the chakra system, we need to understand that, well, actually, let me say it this way. Not all people have spiritual awakenings or ascend from the root chakra up. So quite often a spiritual awakening may come to you and be manifested by your higher chakra systems. And you could have your third eye open and see visions before anything else has kind of been shed or recalibrated in your physical or energetic life. So you can have this miraculous, instantaneous moment where you have this like spiritual awakening. Oftentimes, some people will have like a near-death experience, or a loved one dies, or something really radical that really, really brings them to a really high frequency attunement spiritually within their higher chakras, their crown chakra, their third eye, possibly even the heart chakra, before anything in their physical life has been affected, which correlates more so with our lower chakras, our root and sacral and solar plexus chakras. And this was my story, actually. One of my major spiritual awakenings was back in 2014 and 2015 when my third eye opened and I started having clairvoyant visions, and my crown chakra opened and I was channeling messages from people's souls. And this happened and I thought, oh wow, this is my spiritual awakening. Okay, one and done, that's it. Well, over the next 4 years was when the real spiritual awakening took place. And so it was almost like this descending through my chakra system during my spiritual awakening. So we call it an ascension, but sometimes we actually descend through our parts of self and our energy. And so for me, it was like a spiritual awakening, but then I went downward through the chakra system over the course of 4 years to really connect to my higher heart and become clairsentient, and then to go into my solar plexus and learn how to connect to the energy grid here on earth, and then down into my sacral chakra to heal and shed conditioning and trauma, and to connect to my inner child, and then the root chakra to connect and ground to the earth. And so we can ascend by going, from the higher chakra system down. And so that's how it can look for some people. Other times, whether you are more elemental in archetype, or just simply you're in a space in your life where you're more deeply connected to your lower chakras, you will ascend the other way. You'll start with kind of purging and shedding in your physical life, and then you'll go into your energy field and your emotions, and then you'll come to this time or space of spiritual enlightenment. So those are the two ways that you can experience a spiritual awakening. You can either have it start with a spiritual epiphany, enlightenment, miraculous, magical experience, and then you go through the spiritual awakening process backwards a little bit in a sense. I wouldn't necessarily say it's backwards, but I think with the terms that we use, like ascension, kundalini rising, awakening, enlightenment, oftentimes we assume it's going upward in energy, but we can actually go from soul energy down to body. And then again, oftentimes we start on the ground level. We start with our physical life, purging, shedding, changing an environment, and then into the energy field, healing, transforming, shape-shifting, and then into the spiritual self. So those are the two ways that we can do it. And really, I see it as we're doing this all the time, right? We're going up and down, up and down. And that's really, as light workers, what we need to be doing is attuning, clarifying, and empowering all of these parts of self on a spiritual level, an energetic level, and physical level. And so these are the two ways that we can experience a spiritual awakening. And again, there's no one spiritual awakening, one and done. We are awakening at all times and in all ways, but there's typically times where it's more significant, and we are definitely in a time right now as light workers where we are in a collective spiritual awakening, and we are shedding false identity, and we are transforming from the inside out our personal lives, as well as preparing to serve society to transform from the inside out. I'm so happy to be with you in this work and in sharing this light. Thank you so much, Lightworker family, and I will see you in the next video.